What's up, crypto enthusiasts? Welcome back to another video. And in this video, since we are so close to the launch of Wise Lending, which is our flagship product we've been developing for almost 3 years now, we are at the end of the first epoch, the first chapter, and the first step in the era of Wise token. And it's just time to talk about all the events that brought us here, because we are at this pivotal moment where we're about to transition into the second phase, where it's not about building anymore. It's about growing our community. It's about using our products, and it's about generating that revenue so that it can flow back to the DAO, buy and burn Wise, and we can start seeing some real gains, in our pockets if you're an investor in Wise or WiseR. So it's been almost 3 years now, and the reason for investing in Wise in the first place was because we're building this ecosystem, and now that last puzzle piece is about to be placed, and then it's going to be all about just blowing it up even bigger and getting a bigger community and having people use our products. So I wanted to tell you the story of what led us to this place. We do still have a lot of OGs in our community, but I bet even the OGs will learn something new from this video, and it's sure going to be interesting. Like, this is a slice of history, and it's a really rich piece of the DeFi history. So let's get into it. So the reason for me coming up with this idea and starting Wise Token in the first place was because I was tired of getting bad deals in the ICO phase of 2017 to 2018. There was tons of them, and I was really frustrated that by the time the investment got to me, just a regular person investing in a protocol, buying tokens, somebody else had already made 100x or 1000x. Some VC or, the team, or, by the time the tokens got to the community to buy, it was already a bad deal, and they were already really at risk, because the way these founders are designing their projects are so that they get a ton of money up front, golden parachutes up front. And it would take, an act of God, basically, to make money, or you just had to get really lucky that, if you expected to make money on these tokens, at least long term for sure. A lot of them pumped a little bit, but for sustainable gains, which is what I was after, I wanted to make an investment that I could keep in for my grandkids. That just really didn't exist aside from like a unicorn here or there. So I set out to build my own ecosystem that would solve some of these problems. And what I wanted to build was sustainable, safe yield for everyone, for your grandma, for your dad, for your kids, for anybody that has money that can use a computer or a phone. I wanted to create safe and sustainable yield that's better than our banks. Because, if you listen to my original streams back 3 years ago, you would know that I said all the time about my bank account is making me 0.06% interest, and yet my credit card is going to charge me up to 26% interest. That's unfair. The banks are making that slice. We can bring these financial services onto blockchain, make it really fair, really decentralized, and we can make much higher yield than what the traditional finance is offering you. So I made the plan, and we started by creating Wise Token, and then the idea was we create Wise Token that is not just a shit token, but that is actually backed by ETH, has a price floor in ETH, and then we build an ecosystem of decentralized apps, DApps, on that funnel the revenue to buy and burn Wise to provide even further value. So Wise, not just a token. It's definitely not, some bootstrapping, Ponzi-nomics token. It's an actual reserve token backed by ETH. And that's exactly what we did. And if you guys remember, we had the 50-day auction, and we called it the Liquidity Transformer. And so you guys know that leading up to this event, this was started on, November 11th, 2020. But we started building far before that, and I was putting out videos on my YouTube channel. And it was pretty much a 2.5 man operation at this point. There was like one guy part-time, Aaron, and then Vitali full-time, and then me. And it was just the three of us. And the developer on one side building this stuff, and then me on the other side doing all the marketing just for my little YouTube channel. And I was able to make some impressions on people for sure. And I remember I put so much effort into this in those months. I put all my, my life savings into this entire project. And I didn't have much back then at all. I got lucky because we started building as soon as that, COVID-19 hit. And the first time I paid Vitali in ETH, it was, I had bought that ETH at $80, and I had bought more to, plan ahead for sure. And that turned out to be a really, really good time to buy. And I got lucky because that sustained me to be able to actually launch this, because I was never a rich person. I worked really hard. I had some savings, but definitely was not a millionaire when I was doing this by any stretch of the imagination. So leading up to the launch, I tried to do everything I could. I didn't have enough money to do like big marketing campaigns, but I really put in the sweat equity. I made personalized YouTube videos specifically for YouTubers. Like I made them specifically, mention them, personalized videos talking about Wise, why I built Wise, and why I want them to, talk about Wise token and the launch. And as much effort as I put in, actually, that worked out fairly well. In fact, one of the biggest wins was probably BitBoy Crypto, who responded to that email that I sent, was impressed, and actually ended up doing a non-sponsored free video for us. You can see that here. It's not loading. All right. Well, it's not loading, but it's there. We got the receipts. It's in his video. Now, I know BitBoy is a very polarizing figure, and regardless of what you think of him now, 3 years later, he was a decently sized YouTuber compared to everyone else back then. He had tens of thousands of subscribers back then, and that was a big deal. Like he was charging like $10,000 or $20,000 just for shout outs for tokens, and he actually gave us a free sponsored blurb, and so that was wonderful. And I also paid as much as I could for all sorts of other marketing. I was just trying to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what stuck. Marketing in crypto is difficult, but whatever I did, it ended up working out. Probably most of the stuff I did didn't work out, but something did, because either my authenticity and the fairness of it, people can just see. It's not like you didn't even have to trust me. You can verify by the code that what I was saying was true. And that went kind of semi-viral. Like I remember during this 50-day auction that we were having, I would go to the Gold's Gym at Venice Beach in Los Angeles, and people would recognize me. Like people would recognize me there, and I wouldn't know. It would be like friends of a friends of our friends, because we had nobody in common, and that was kind of like a very interesting thing. And even now, it's a different crowd now. There's a whole 2021 NFT crowd that has really changed the scene and what people pay attention to. But even now, when I go to big events like Bitcoin Miami or like NFT NYC, there's usually at least one or two people that do recognize me, especially if I'm wearing like a Wise token logo shirt, that will walk up to me and recognize me. It happens almost every time. So that was a surreal thing. And, I attribute that to luck. I attribute that to my authenticity and creativity. And that was a really cool thing that happened. And now, this was way back, guys. 2020, we started building in 2020 before the launch of Uniswap version 2. You understand? We are already at Uniswap version 3, right? But we like this idea was made. This idea to lock our funds on Uniswap. This was made during, like, we didn't even have Uniswap version 2. We only had Uniswap version 1. So can you imagine what I was going through making this huge decision to lock this money forever? Now, we didn't know that it was going to be that much funds yet. Like, we didn't know that we were going to raise almost 60,000 ETH. Of course, that was my target. I wanted to raise anywhere between 50,000 and 100,000 ETH, but we didn't know. And we didn't know, how sticky Uniswap was. We didn't know if it was going to be number one forever. This was before vampire attacks from SushiSwap. This was before, clones and all sorts of other dexes popping up. So this was before layer 2 chain dexes. We didn't know. But I still made the decision because I believed in the technology. And so when Uniswap 2 came out, we created the pool. And you can see right now we're the number one pool. Actually, for a brief time in 2021, when we reached our all-time high for Wise token, we actually were number one on Uniswap briefly. We had over 100,000 Ethereum in our pair at that time. Right now we have like 33,000, 32,000, something like that. But we had 100,000 ETH in the pair at that time when we reached an all-time high, and that was a $350 million market cap. This was crazy. Like, just to put it into perspective how crazy it is, the market cap for DeFi now is like $200 billion, 200 billion plus, give or take, depends on, the price of ETH right now. Back then, the entire market cap for DeFi was $2 billion. We're talking 100x less. And we raised $41 million of ETH in that market when the entire pie was $2 billion. And of that $2 billion, we raised $41 million. That was crazy. It was a crazy feat. And, I always knew that we needed to build the ecosystem because, Wise token, being that it's backed by ETH, is wonderful. And that's great to make it, valuable, a great store of value, have, that stickiness. Here we are. We haven't really launched anything until just recently. And here we are 2.5 years later, and we still have the biggest pool on Uniswap. We still have, 30,000 plus ETH in our pair. So that's coming from the fact that we launched the way we did. But that's still not good enough. We still needed a product, and I knew that. That's why we didn't, fire the team like after the token was launched. No, we got right to work on building the actual apps so that we could actually have a product that was funneling into Wise token. But looking at our auction, you can see, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. We didn't know how much ETH we're going to raise. I remember the first day we got 645 ETH, and I was like, that is a lot of money. And wow, over 1,110 users. That was wonderful. But I was really hoping for more. I really wanted more. And I was a little bit bummed on the second day when we had less than the first day. And I was like, oh no, it was day one, our first day. But no, day 2 was actually the best day to buy. And I had spent all my money on marketing at this point. I didn't even get to invest in the first few days. I didn't get to invest in my own token until the sale of my house went through. So I was selling my house at this time so I could have more funds to put into the project. And somewhere in the middle of the auction, my house finally sold. I converted that money to Ethereum and invested in the auction alongside everyone else. I think I got an average price of 11 cents per token, something around there. The average was 16 cents. So I beat the average, which was good, but I didn't even get to invest in the first days, which was unfortunate. But watching this price action, it was amazing. Oh man, I can't tell you how awesome it felt to feel this run up to this day right here when we had day 9, we had 1,622 ETH coming in that day. It was crazy. And then we retested the bottom again, and we bottomed out at like something like 850. And then we started going up again. There was the crazy randomness of the days that added some gamification in. And then we just kept climbing up and climbing up to the end. Here's another local high with 21 2,145 Ethereum on that day, day 41, a little bit of a cool off, and then all the way up to our final day where we had 3,283 total ETH and 2,870 total unique users, for a total during the 50 days of 8,696 unique users that participated in the auction, and then 57,900 Ether. And that's when this contract, as coded, created this pair, and then sent the proof of burn. We burned the LP tokens, or the contract did, as you can see right here, locking that forever when we didn't even know if Uniswap was going to be the king. We didn't know. This was barely after the launch of Uniswap version 2. I can't tell you how much of a hard decision that was for me, because I only want to create decentralized products. I don't want to create centralized products. So I had to make a decision. And I am certain now, more than ever, that I did make the right decision. And so then we listed. So then, we listed on Uniswap, and I'd been tracking the how much ETH we were getting, and thinking, oh wow, we're going to be number 10 on Uniswap immediately. We're going to be number 8 on Uniswap. We're going to be number 7 on Uniswap, all the way up to I'm not exactly sure if it was like maybe number 4 or 5 on Uniswap when we finally listed, but because of this incredible model that I built, and the fairness, and the fact that it was backed by ETH, I expected mainstream to pick this story up. Like, I really expected mainstream to pick this story up. At the very least, I expect Hayden Adams, the creator of Uniswap, or Uniswap themselves, to give us a mention or look into our project to see what it was about. I was really expecting that, because honestly, we could have been the poster children. We could have been the poster child for Uniswap. We literally, banked everything on the success of Uniswap. And the fact that, we love the fact that Uniswap was decentralized. Of course, Uniswap is decentralized forever, but we didn't know if it was going to be the king forever. And we made that decision to basically, build on top of Uniswap and have the heart of our entire ecosystem be housed on Uniswap forever, immutably, and not able to be removed. But we didn't get any recognition whatsoever, which is really frustrating. And I started to realize that there's a lot of collusion that goes on, in high places. People aren't just gonna talk about you if there's not something in it for them. And that was a really hard pill to swallow, because we were doing, I invested everything into Wise, and if Wise didn't work out, or if Wise doesn't work out, then pretty much my entire net worth is tied up into Wise. Now, there's a price floor in ETH for that, so it can't go below that price floor in ETH, but that's still me risking everything. Not only that, but I'm the sole funder for all of the developments. There's nobody else but me that's funding all these projects up until now when we're launching. So that's a scary thing. I during this auction, my wife is pregnant. I have a 2-year-old little girl now, and so I have other things to consider too. And I still committed everything to this project. And it was really frustrating not being picked up by those mainstream outlets, not getting any recognition whatsoever. Because, we were trending immediately on Dex Tools. I remember, the first day afterwards, we were trending on Dex Tools for like a week. And that was what gave us our run up towards that time when we hit 97 cents in Wise, when we had over 100,000 ETH in this pair right here. It was Dex Tools, because Dex Tools brought in a lot of other people on top of those 9,000 people that were in the auction. Well, it got discovered more on Dex Tools, and when Dex Tools started looking into this, oh my gosh, there's tons of liquidity here. The liquidity is locked. There's lots of volume. We were creating great volume back then too. And by the way, volume on a Uniswap pair is super important. It's good because since it's an ownerless pair, those transaction fees just roll up into the pair and create more ETH that's backing. So that literally is creating value for all the holders, because every transaction increases the amount of ETH that's stuck there in the pair, not stuck, but like there, that's backing all Wise token holders that you can cash out if you own any Wise token. So that was really special. But we were trending on DEX tools, and then that caused us to run up significantly. So this is people that probably didn't know much about Wise, didn't know our story, didn't know anything. They could have just thought that this was another meme coin, like who knows? And as it happens, it ran up and then it came down. That's really what happens when you have got that much money going in, because we put in 50,000 ETH, 55,900 ETH into the pair, and then that doubled within 10 days just from trending on DEX tools and people coming in and buying it. And then, within a couple months, that had quickly gone back to normal, where we only had 50,000 in the pair. But it was quite a run up, and then it was quite a run down back to like the equilibrium area. And this is really where the grind started, because it's not I definitely made a lot of mistakes, and we're going to talk about some of those in this video. But one thing that I certainly was about to learn was that it's not easy to create real sustainable products. So we have two products now. We got liquid NFTs, which is kind of a pivot, because our main thing was always going to be this lending protocol, which is on testnet right now, and is we're still wiring it all up. It's literally just a few weeks away. It's got the power farm section right here, and this is always going to be our main protocol. But when NFTs exploded in 2021, that's when we launched. Basically, we decided to pivot and do this, which turned out to be a bad idea, because we wasted a lot of time when we could have been finishing the lending protocol. But NFTs were super hot. If you experienced that in 2021, you would have maybe made the same decision if you were me to do something like this. And this is still going to be useful. It's just we really should have finished the core lending protocol first, and then done something like this, regardless of the fact that it was hot at the time. But regardless, we still made a really awesome NFT lending protocol, and it's going to fit into everything else we do and be super useful. And as you can see, people are using it right now. But that's just one of the mistakes. The point is, we're finally here when we're about to launch. But this took 2.5 years, guys. This took 2.5 years. And, I had to learn that, development, especially when you're using good devs and building things the right way, getting things, fully tested and audited, it takes longer than you might expect. And I wasn't prepared for that, for sure. I remember, shortly after launching Wise, when we were experiencing our all-time highs, taking a walk with my wife. And at that time, the Wise I had was worth millions, many millions of dollars. And I remember thinking, wow, I'm going to be able to build this stuff. We should be ready to go in 6 months. And it's going to be amazing. And if anything goes wrong, I got millions of dollars of Wise that is backed by ETH that I'm going to be able to, extend the roadmap. Boy, was I wrong. Because here we are 2.5 years later. Now we're just finally launching. And some of the hardest things I've had to do during that time period was I had to actually, early end stake some of my stakes, take big hits on ending them early. And I had to, spend my, that was my own money. That was my investment. I wasn't expecting to have to use that, but I did have to use that. And, those were some really hard decisions to make, because I just poured all my net worth into building this stuff. And at the same time, didn't receive the backing that I felt that we really deserved. And still nothing to show for it because we weren't live yet. But I'm glad I did make those decisions. And just to give you an idea, back then, having a $350 million market cap, that put us in like top 50 market cap for everything. We were like top 50 in market cap during that time. Like, that was huge. Remember, all of DeFi was $2 billion back then. So it was crazy. Like, just to give you perspective, we just had this Pepe pop off and go to $1.3 billion market cap. If you guys understand how big that was, we were a third as big as that. There's also like the Ben token that recently just launched. This is a meme craze thing. That went to 100 million. We were 3 times as big as Ben. That's crazy. It's crazy to think about. So we and that was back then in 2020. So we accomplished some insanely crazy stuff, and went super viral. And then I remember seeing other protocols come and outclass our APY for a bit. I remember, what was it? What was it? It was the Fae. I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, the Fae tribe. So these guys put $2.6 billion of liquidity on Uniswap version 2 when they started. And I remember thinking, man, if we'd have launched during that time, we could have done the exact same thing. They were not more viral than us. They were just launching, a year later when there was more money in DeFi. So imagine if we put $2.6 billion on Uniswap. And I remember, and so they went from $2.6 billion all the way down here to $8 million. So they had some hacks, their protocol didn't really work the way they wanted it to. It just was bad tokenomics. And we've done nothing but grow up the ranks to the top because our stuff is actually backed by ETH. That ETH is not going anywhere. You can sell your Ys, you can shift the pool so that it's more Ys than ETH. And right now it's shifted almost to the point where we're at the price floor. We're only 5% away from our actual mathematical price floor in ETH right now. So it's shifted so that it's almost all the Ys that it can be. But that's the bottom range of where it can be. And it's going to shift the other way where it's a lot more ETH than Ys as people are buying it up. Believe me, that is going to happen. So I definitely made some mistakes along the way too. First of all, it's super frustrating having such a successful launch, pulling off this stuff, being so sacrificial and fair in what I was doing, and then not getting really the credit for it, and having people just sell it off, and not a word said, not picked up by anybody. No shout outs from Hayden Adams, nobody important talking about Ys at all, even though a lot of people knew about it. That was super frustrating. So dealing with that, dealing with the fact that development was slow, dealing with the fact that now you get the fudders coming that bought in at 97 cents, and now it's at 70 cents, and now it's at 50 cents, and people start to FUD the project like, oh, this is a rug. Oh, really? No, this is not a rug. Just because you bought at the top of a crazy hyped peak does not make it a rug, and a rug does not equal something that goes down in price after you buy it. That is a ridiculous thing to say. Compare our statistics to anything else. Like, if everyone sold their Ys, there would still be 28,000 ETH in the pair. You call that a rug? No possible way. It's especially ridiculous to me because, I said from the start that we need to build the ecosystem. And so it's unfair to judge an ecosystem before it's built yet. A token is not an ecosystem. Token's just a token. And it was also frustrating to me because I half expected us to be just fine with just a token, even though we didn't have any of our products yet. Because I was thinking, Dogecoin does just fine. Shiba, I can't remember if Shiba launch was before or after, but, Shiba doing just fine. There's plenty of other projects that aren't backed by ETH that weren't done in a fair way, and they're doing just fine just based off of the community. So in my mind, why wouldn't my community, perpetuate the value of Ys just off of community power itself? Why shouldn't that be the case? But that wasn't the case. And you know what? One of my biggest mistakes, I think, was telling everybody that I basically had the attitude that this is so fair, this is built so well that we don't even need community. Like this, the technical aspects of this token is so good that you can just sit back and wait for your return. And you can be in the community, you cannot be in the community. I don't care, because this token, you can't hurt this token. That was kind of my attitude. And that was a naive thing to think, because even with the strongest tokens in the world, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, they would be nothing without their community, because a lot of the value, a huge portion of the value of anything is social value. And it's based on the community, what the community thinks. Now that we have got our products built, they're going to be pumping in value, and then it's going to be really easy for people to attribute social value to Wise and feel the FOMO again, and feel hyped up about the potential of where Wise tokens price could be in the future. But it was wrong of me to not put a bigger emphasis on the community, because what I did is I just went heads down, and just started, building with my devs, and we became super product based. And I kind of, spent way less time in the community, didn't really tweet at all. And from the community perspective, we just kind of faded away. Even though, we were working harder than ever. I mean, I still had committed all my funds into this token. Of course, I'm not just going to walk away from something that I put my entire net worth into and then staked it for up to 42 years. Like, that would be crazy if I would even consider walking away. Of course not. But I'm sure that's what it seemed like. And that was a huge mistake of mine, because we could have been building the community during that time. We could have be coming out the gate now with 20,000 people in the community, going from, 10,000. We had about 12 to 13,000 holders after we were trending on DEX tools. We could be at 20,000 active users right now if I'd done a better job building the community. But I didn't. I made that mistake. And instead, we have diminished down to the point where we just have a core nucleus of people that, strong as they may be, it could have been a lot more. And I take full responsibility for that. Now, we've wisened up since, and we are killing it, thanks to Jay, who's killing it on Twitter every single day. We have a massive reach now on Twitter. We're growing by leaps and bounds. Our community is engaged, but we're starting from a much smaller point, because it took me, more time than it should have for me to learn that I really, it's just as important for me to engage with the community on a daily basis than it is for me to build a good, sustainable product that has value. They're just as important as each other. I'm not going to make that mistake again, especially now since we're nearing the end of the launch of our product, and now it's all about community. So here we are, guys. And we came to the spot where I didn't have enough money to complete it, actually. So we came to the spot where I realized that the amount of time it was going to take to finish this, plus the type of launch, the campaign that we needed to have, from a marketing perspective, I simply did not have the money. And, unless I would cash out my stakes and take 50, 60, 70% hits on principal on some of my Wise stakes, there's no way that I would have the money to do this now. That was a very sobering thing for me. And I realized that we needed to do a community raise. Now, we just raised $2.4 million of ETH for liquid NFTs for our DAO, for the WiseR DAO, and that was a huge success. Just a couple months ago, you can see 1,069 ETH sitting here available to borrow. There's already some that is borrowed on liquid NFTs, and this is our DAO. And so I came up with the idea of, hey, we need to find this money somehow. And I came up with the idea of having the DAO fund this last push that we need to get us to a place where our stuff can be profitable and sustainable. Good launch and paying our developer payroll throughout the rest of the year. And so also this solves a problem for me as well that I've been trying to work out, which is that I spent all my money to build these products and I didn't take anything in return. And what I want is to turn over 100% of the revenue share of these products that I built to the community so that it can be connected up and do its function, which is to use the revenue to buy and burn Wise, which is basically like putting ETH in the pockets of every Wise holder. We're putting it on Uniswap that is claimable when you swap your Wise for ETH when you're ready to cash out. And so this is a way we can do that, because if the DAO fund, starts paying me back the cost it cost to build all these things, I can in turn give a revenue share. The point being that the DAO can pay me back as I am increasing the revenue share that is going to the DAO from our products, to the point where we have 100% of revenue share going to the DAO. And so I made this proposal, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go over, because we talked with the community about it. There was some people who didn't agree with it. We talked through a lot of points, and I felt that we did reach a consensus. But you never know until you see the real votes, right? You never really know. And it was about the most satisfying thing ever to do this proposal, that it removes 115 ETH of the, we raised 1,152, and so we're removing 10% of that for funding this project. And that means that all WiseR holders are taking a temporary 10% haircut. And I wasn't sure how well that was going to go over, because in order to be in line with this, you got to believe in Wise. And based off everything that has happened, the fact that we used to have 13,000 holders, now we have 7,000 stakers, I believe, something like that, and a very, very diminished active community compared to what we used to have. I wasn't sure how this was going to go over. It's easy to get discouraged when all you're doing, I put my whole life into this and all of my money. And I just didn't know how the response was going to be. And how satisfying was it to see that we have 331 million WiseR. That's 33% already, after only 24 hours, voting unanimously yes to do this, with not even anyone voting no. So this is really means so much to me. Because now I know that what I'm saying isn't falling on deaf ears, because these guys are voting with their actual money. This represents hundreds of ETH, and people are voting with that value, and they're saying, yes, we trust Peter, we trust the team to finish this, and we believe it's going to be profitable. Because if they didn't believe it was going to be profitable, they're not going to give up 10% of their value that they have in their pocket, in their hand right now. They would not choose to do that investment. So I'm so thankful, and this is a perfect pivotal moment for the Wise ecosystem, a moment where now we have accomplished some very important pivotal things, and now we're about to start the second chapter, the second epoch, where it's all about building that revenue and proving to the world that we have the safest, the best, the highest APY, and the easiest to use protocol on all of Ethereum that everyone can use and should use. And this is where you should place your money if you have any money in crypto. And even if you don't have money in crypto, you should put some of it in crypto, because you're going to get higher APYs than you do in your bank. So this is the perfect pivotal moment for all of us. I couldn't have dreamed up a better story than what is happening right here, right now. And I'm so thankful for everybody. If you are part of the Wise ecosystem, I can't thank you enough. That's going to be it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.